Pro Football. Brought to you now by the Military Banking Division of American Express International Banking Corporation. Here's how we can help the serviceman and his dependents.
January 17th, 1971, a day hereafter known as Super Bowl V. The fifth annual Super Bowl had all the symbolism of a Wild West rodeo. This game would, in fact, be far different from those in the past, for here were two teams who had not dominated their respective leagues. The good guys in white, the Baltimore Colts, had undergone a series of close victories to reach the Super Bowl. Don McCafferty, their rookie head coach, had quietly led them into today's game with confidence. On him and on their other leader, number 19, John Unitas, would rest the burden of avenging their 1968 loss to the Jets. Unitas would count on his passes and his reincarnated running attack, led by number 36, Norm Big Boo Boulash, to overwhelm the stingy Cowboy defense, with Earl Morrall ready if needed. Then it would be up to the tenacious Colt defense to stop Tom Landry's Blue Machine from Dallas. Tom Landry had brought his team into this game from mid-season despair to one of the great comebacks in football history, and he had done it by calling the plays for his team. He had done it by disdaining the passing game of erratic quarterback Craig Morton, instead building an unstoppable ground game around his offensive line and rookie runner Dwayne Thomas, number 33. Couple this ball control offense with a defense that is near flawless, especially against the pass, with Mel Renfro, and you have a Super Bowl V that presented an interesting contrast. I'm Jack Whitaker, and this is the NFL Game of the Week, Super Bowl V. The Cowboys received to open the game, and one of the keys for both teams was the ability of the bomb squads to stop the return specialists, as the Colts did here. Tom Landry had some surprises for the Colts right from the start. He began by using Walt Garrison, not Dwayne Thomas. But the Colts did not key on Thomas as much as the 49ers had in the NFC Championship, and thus were able to bottle up number 32. Landry's strategy was to confuse the Colt defense. He chose to pass early on Baltimore, both long and short, contrary to what everyone expected. But the quick and aggressive Colt linebackers were ready for this tactic. Craig Morton was under heavy pressure from the Colts' defensive line and was to force many of his attempts. The man putting much of the pressure on Morton early in the game was number 85, Roy Hilton, the forgotten member of the Colts' front four. In fact, the entire front four of the Colts had been under-publicized this year. But today, Bubba and Billy Ray Smith, Fred Miller and Hilton would make an imprint on Morton, Thomas and company that would leave its mark for a long time to come. Time and again, they penetrated the highly touted Cowboys offensive line to stifle the Cowboys' running attack, taking away from the start the Cowboys' offensive strength. The Colts' first few series were just as unproductive, and the reasons were similar. Norm Boulash couldn't run inside on Lilly and company, nor was he quick enough to turn the corners. And led by number 55, Leroy Jordan, the Dallas defense stopped Unitas' first pass, short of a first down. Unitas' second pass, a short time later, met with disaster as Chuck Howley made a brilliant interception, the first of 5 Colt turnovers in the first half. Unitas himself may have saved a touchdown here by making the tackle on Howley. This set up the first score of the game, but it would not be a touchdown. Running out of the backfield, number 22, Bob Hayes, was sent downfield, But Hayes would have trouble all day holding on to Morton's less than perfect throws, and Dallas had to punt. But here, another break saved the Cowboys, as Ron Gardine fumbled the punt, and the Cowboys were set up inside the 10. Once again, however, Dallas could not penetrate the Colts' front four and linebackers on the ground. So Dallas had to settle for 3 from Mike Clark, and with 5 minutes left in the first quarter, led 3-0. Baltimore continued to go nowhere. Pugh, Andre, Cole, and Sheriff Bob Lilly, number 74, were living up to their billing, and Baltimore had yet to make a first down in 3 tries. The Cowboys, however, then began to roll for the first time, and ironically, it was through the air. The linebackers had been stacking tight to watch the run, and Landry called for the short, wide flip to number 30, Dan Reeves, and it worked. He also called for Morton to continue to try and hit Hayes deep, and this one was a beautiful pass between 2 Colt defenders that brought the ball to the Colts 6. Then one of the big plays of the game occurred, as Morton's play fake was so perfect, it caught linebacker Ted Hendricks committed in the backfield. Fortunately for the Colts, number 83 Hendricks continued to charge in rather than drop back, and the result was a blocked pass. Only the 6'7" Hendricks could have blocked this pass, and a replay will show why it was lucky he did. Dwayne Thomas and Ralph Neely were all alone, waiting for Morton's pass that never got there, and the first quarter ended. As the quarter changed, the strategy didn't. Morton on 3rd and 7 went to pass, was rushed, and threw it away for a 15-yard intentional grounding penalty. So once again, the Cowboys failed to get 7 and settled for another 3-pointer and a 6-0 lead. The second quarter started out as unproductive as the first for Johnny Unitas, as he was constantly being hounded by the Cowboys' front four. But on 3rd and 10, Unitas got one of the biggest breaks of his career. His pass first hit Eddie Hinton's hands, then defender Mel Renfro, then bounced into John Mackey's hands, making it a legal reception and a 75-yard touchdown, their first down of the game. The extra point was blocked, but the game was now tied at 6. The Colts now had momentum in this freaky turnabout, and their defense sustained it by continuing to stop Dwayne Thomas cold. While that was accomplished, they so pressured Craig Morton that he was unable to spot his receivers and threw off balance with little success. What was keeping the Cowboys in good shape, though, was the punting of Ron Whidbey, whose towering deep kicks kept Ron Gardine from returning at all. Then came another big break for the Cowboys. On 3rd and 10, Unitas chose to run out of the pocket, but was hammered by Leroy Jordan and coughed up the ball to number 75, Jethro Pugh, on the Colts' 28. This time, Morton took his team into the end zone. First, Landry called for the short flip to Dan Reeves that had worked earlier, and it worked again. Reeves easily beating number 56, linebacker Ray May, to the 7. Then on a textbook play-action fake, Morton caught everyone on the Colts, and Dwayne Thomas took his pass and scrambled into the end zone as Billy Ray Smith's tackle came too late. Finally able to capitalize fully on a turnover, the Cowboys took the momentum back and took a 13-6 lead with 7 minutes left in the half. Johnny Unitas again tried to play catch-up, and again the Colts would be snake-bitten. They first got a break when a pass interference call nullified an interception of a Unitas pass. But sure enough, 3 plays later, Unitas threw up his second interception on a pass that wasn't even close. On a repeat of the play, we will see that this was to be Johnny Unitas' last play of the 1970 season. Racked hard by George Andre, number 66, Unitas sustained damaged ribs and left the game. It was a tough way for the old master to leave, but his interception didn't hurt, and with 3 minutes left, Earl Morrall came in to try and rally the Colts. And rally them he did. Looking more like the 1971 version of George Blanda, this 15-year veteran passed and passed his team into scoring position. There was no faking involved. Morrall used the straight drop back and fire, hoping to hit his receivers quickly underneath the prevent zone of the Cowboys secondary. Receiver Roy Jefferson's great individual effort took it to the 5, and a penalty moved it to the 2 with 1:57 left. Then it was the Cowboys' turn to show Baltimore what the doomsday defense was all about. On 3 consecutive downs from the 2, Norm Bulash was turned back for no gain. So on 4th and 2, with 20 seconds left, Morrall faked once and waited for tight end Tom Mitchell to clear into the end zone. He never made it. Mitchell had tripped and could only lunge futilely for the pass. On a repeat of this key play, watch for Mitchell, number 84, on your left, as he's held up by linebacker Jordan, then trips on his way out for the pass. The Cowboys had held and took over as time ran out in the half. In a game in which so far the bounce of the ball had been more important than strategy or execution, Dallas went into the locker room nursing a 13-6 lead, while Johnny Unitas went in nursing a sore rib, followed by the man who would hold the moral to this story in his head and in his hands. Cowboys 13, the Colts 6. The second half got underway, and the Colts showed that halftime hadn't altered their game plan, as Jim Duncan, number 35, fumbled the kickoff, and the Cowboys recovered. But the Cowboys were rolling snake eyes also, when from the Baltimore 2-yard line, Dwayne Thomas started for the end zone and then fumbled. The Colts recovered, and later Dallas coach Tom Landry said that was the play that hurt them most. Meanwhile, Baltimore was trying to blast its way out of trouble. But this 8-yard run was the longest of the day for Norm Bulash, who gained a mere 28 yards on 18 carries. Knowing that the ground was forbidden him, Morrall went to the air with much better success. He hit Sam Haverlack for 25 yards on this one. And disdaining the fierce Dallas rush, he moved the Colts with a poise and confidence befitting his vast experience. But even experience couldn't deny the doomsday defense for long. The Cowboys pressured. Morrall passed. And Leroy Jordan came so close that the missed interception caused him a little nausea. Their drive ended. The Colts were forced to go for a field goal from 52 yards out, And although the attempt was no good, the ball died like a shot bird on the Dallas 1. And the Colts wouldn't let the Cowboys out their own front door. After Dallas was forced to punt, Earl Morrall again tried to establish some semblance of a running game. But the Cowboys were definitely against it, holding Baltimore to 69 rushing yards for the day. So it was airborne all the way as Morrall lobbed one downfield to Tom Nowatzki, good for 45 yards. On the replay, we can see why after the game Earl said, "I could have led Tom by 5 more yards and he might have scored, but I just wanted to play it safe and get it to him." Now the Colts were knocking again. On 2nd and 7, Morrall thought that perhaps he could succeed where his runners hadn't. But doomsday was on him with a passion. Neither team had scored as the quarter ended, with Dallas still in command, 13-6. The Colts started the last quarter just as they'd started the second half, with a killing error. Earl Morrall's pass was intercepted in the end zone by number 54, Chuck Howley. Again, the Colts had been close in, and again they'd been denied. Now, with their own mistakes and the clock working against them, their chances for Super Bowl vengeance were fading down that long corridor of time, where the walls echo with the words, "If only." With Dallas leading 13-6 early in the last quarter, the Cowboys' Walt Garrison ripped off 19 yards, the longest run of the day. However, Garrison's run went for naught, as the Dallas passing game remained ineffectual. Although Tom Landry, in alternating his tight ends, Pettis Norman and Mike Ditka, was running the most effective messenger service since the Pony Express, there was nothing he could do about execution of the plays he sent in. For execution, he had to rely on his quarterback, Craig Morton. And Morton, whose main trouble has been consistency, found his passing game barely surviving on short, harmless 3 to 5 yard completions. And his short completions weren't about to scare anyone, let alone a team that had already stopped the once formidable running of Dwayne Thomas. When Baltimore regained possession, Earl Morrall knew there was only one route open to him. The Jet Streak Express went to Roy Jefferson for 24 yards. And then the Colts tried a play strangely reminiscent of the famous flea flicker that went awry in the 1968 Super Bowl. And just as it had in 1968, this flea flicker also went awry when Eddie Hinton fumbled and the ball went out of the end zone for a touchback. On the replay, we can see that Haverlack, number 17, tried to get the ball back to Morrall, but couldn't. And although he completed the pass, the number of confused participants on this play numbered about 22. Again, the Colts had been all but in, and again they'd blown it. But Dallas couldn't accept the favor, as Craig Morton's pass was picked off by number 21, Rick Volk, who ran it down to the Dallas 3. On the replay, we can see that Morton was under pressure, and he did almost complete it. But you'll never see almost written on the scoreboard. And as if wonders would never cease, the Colts transformed this break into points instead of a turnover, as Tom Nowatzki crashed in for the Colts' second touchdown. Dallas 13, Baltimore 13. And with only 7:35 remaining, the clock now loomed as a factor. In desperation, the Cowboys again tried to mount a running attack. Again, it was shut off. The Baltimore defense was superb, and no matter what Dallas tried, they came up short and frustrated. The last break Dallas got was when number 43, Cliff Harris, downed a punt on the Colt 5-yard line. At this point, the Colts tried to run out the clock, but failed, and had to give the ball back to the Cowboys on the Baltimore 48. But Dallas was driven out of field goal range when number 76, Fred Miller, dropped Morton for 9 yards, and the Cowboys were penalized for holding. With 2nd and 34, Morton was forced to throw. The ball bounced off Dan Reeves' hands right to number 32, Mike Curtis, who returned it to the Dallas 28. The replay shows that this time Morton was right on the money, but the turnover sent the money on the way to Baltimore. With 9 seconds to go and the Colts on the Dallas 25, there was only one thing to do, and rookie Jim O'Brien did it. He kicked a 32-yard field goal worth roughly $300,000 to his teammates. And there was no doubt about it. When a first-year man succeeds in a pressure situation such as that, he deserves some kind of celebration. And when the congratulations finally stopped, there was 1 second left in the game. The Cowboys had one chance to pull it out. But as luck would have it, Morton's last-ditch bomb was intercepted by Jerry Logan, and it was all over. Baltimore was number 1. The world champions, the Avengers, the happiest guys under the Miami sun. They'd finally broken the curse of the Jets, and it was only fitting that they had done it behind Earl Morrall, the same man who had led them when they lost to New York in the 1968 Super Bowl. There were many heroes. Certainly the entire Colt defense had to be cited. Certainly a rookie kicker had to be praised. And certainly a first-year coach named Don McCafferty had to get a lot of credit. And while the Colts raced toward a locker room where there would be nothing but cheers, congratulations, hollering, and the presentation of the Vince Lombardi Trophy, the Cowboys trudged solemnly toward a locker room where they would sit in relative quiet and ponder the mystery of the big one, the one that always seems to get away. Each year they seem to get closer, and no doubt each one of them was thinking, wait until next year. But next year is a long way off. And in the meantime, it's up there for all the world to see. Super Bowl 5. Super Colts 16. Cowboys 13.